world has a password problem. And as we migrate away from that problem, we migrate away from knowledge-based systems into key-based systems. And when we do that, we improve our customer experience, we improve our customer engagement, and we improve that security, all with just a tap, which thanks to Visa, MasterCard, and others, we've taught almost every consumer in the world how to do. So an interesting statistic to start off with, almost 1 in 3 consumers experienced credit card fraud last year. That is an astounding statistic. So picture every person on the planet that has a credit card, and then 1 of 3 of them experienced fraud. There's a very high likelihood that those consumers moved off platform, which is the last thing we want. You spend, at least in the United States, $500 to $1,000 to acquire that consumer. You put all of that work in getting them into your platform and comfortable, and then you lose them to fraud. Not to a competitor, not to market forces, but something that's entirely preventable. So we think there are better ways to address that in the market. So to try to, again, scale and size fraud and cybercrime in general, if we were to turn cybercrime into a country, it would be the 3rd largest economy by GDP after the United States and China. There's literally an entire industry essentially trying to commit payments fraud every day, all day. And with the advent of AI, it really has made it easier. Right? The bar has been lowered. You have to write less code. It's much more plug and chug and click, and you're able to commit payments fraud. So how do we continue to address this problem? How do we make sure we understand the problem? So Paul from Visa agrees with me. So here we say, with the use of generative AI and other emerging tech, scams are more convincing than ever to lead consumers to unprecedented losses. So I will say again, we need to go to a deterministic solution. We need to go to a key-based solution. Right? AI can't fake a key. AI can't fake a signature. AI can't or can scam your grandmother out of knowledge. Right? So see that distinction? So as we move away from knowledge-based systems, we're moving away from knowledge that can be extracted by loved ones and can be extracted from people who may not be deeply technical. Right? We can protect them with keys in the same way that you trust physical keys to the locks on your home. I trust digital keys to my digital life that live in my pocket. So again, going to this AI answer, which is kind of the buzzword of the day, customers need a definitive answer about their account. You, as a bank, platform, fintech, need definitive answers for your customers. There are 1 million people at this show that will sell you a predictive model. Some predictive model that will predict fraud, will predict behavior, will predict something. At the end of the day, it's a regression. It's a maybe. It's a probabilistic answer. And those probabilistic answers leave room for doubt. And then as a security expert, anywhere where I can find an edge case, anywhere where I can find doubt, that's where I'm going to exploit. And it's a never-ending arms race against the AI model. So we take a different approach. We take a deterministic approach. You either have a key to access something or you don't. That key is backed up by certificates from a certificate authority that you cannot fake. So no questioning a model, no API call, no waiting for the cloud to maybe give you an answer, no giant bank of NVIDIA servers to train the model. You either have the key to access it or you don't. So again, how do big fintech think about their customers, right? They're sacrosanct. Acquiring those customers and making them be top of mind with their platform is huge. So as we evaluated this, you can see over 34% of big tech and fintechs lost customers over fraud. So while certainly big banks and legacy banks don't want this, for fintechs, acquisition is even higher. So if you're trying to claw those customers away from the bulge bracket banks, you can even less afford this fraud than those traditional platforms. So let's look at it briefly from the customer view. Over 68% of customers have experienced frustration with their platform, password resets, passwords not working, passwords being required to change constantly. No one wants to deal with it anymore. Importantly, those passwords, when they're reset, are often backed up by SMS, which is linked to SIM. 80% of SIM swaps are successful because most mobile carriers use insecure authentication mechanisms. Right? Think about your digital life. At least in the United States, do you want to trust your digital life to a major cell carrier? I don't, because they're highly insecure. Consumers also think passwords are incredibly inconvenient. Over 60% of them have become familiar with passkeys, which are a alternative password solution, and consider them significantly more convenient. So how do we think about that ecosystem in terms of our business? Well, overall, businesses are experiencing those same challenges from the other side of the coin. So over $43 billion of projected worldwide fraud by 26. 74% of data breaches are due to poor human security and this human element. So in the same way I'm talking about knowledge is extractable from people, you can eliminate that if none of the systems are knowledge-based. So finally, we deal with a lot of banks, some of the largest banks in the world. And 30 to 50% of their average call load is related to password resets. So if you work at a bank, you work at a fintech, you work at some platform where you're servicing customers, imagine being able to reduce 30 to 50% of your call center load and call center costs. So if you want to point to someone who's done this well, someone who's significantly benefited from this type of technology, you can look to eBay, right? So that's a direct quote. Our users can experience much faster and convenience login experiences by optimizing and opting into FIDO, which is Fast ID Online. This is the global international standard that uses these key-based systems to log in. And to fully realize the security benefits of FIDO, we're looking forward to disabling passwords entirely. So imagine a consumer journey where your consumers have no passwords, don't have to deal with it, and just can go about completing carts. So the more users that complete their journey, it's more revenue and earnings for your platform. More statistics on AI. A 60% increase in call center fraud with a growing voice AI threat. So if your platform is relying on voice AI, I strongly urge you to consider alternatives because the AI engines get better every day. And as I mentioned, you will be in a continual arms race against criminals who have nothing better to do than train models. So what are these FIDO passkeys that I'm mentioning? They are essentially a digital key that enables a secure and easy experience for your consumer. Consumers will spend half as long with a passkey as a password. It'll give you 4 times more initial success in the customer journey and a massive savings on fraud. So 74% of data breaches, again, to cite that, are due to poor password security and that human element. Imagine being able to get rid of that. So if you don't believe me, you should believe Jen Easterly. So Jen is a brilliant woman and is the director of CISA in the United States and the US, just absolute security expert. So there's a quote from her: "I urge every CEO to ensure that FIDO Auth is on their organization's MFA plan. FIDO is the gold standard, go for the gold." And if you don't believe me, if you don't believe Jen, you can believe Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Meta, and other large platforms around the world that have all implemented passkeys. Next time you log into Amazon, if you haven't set up a passkey, I almost guarantee it will ask you to do so. So what are some of the alternatives? What have we been doing to date? So instead of SMS, which is terrible and very insecure due to carriers, one option is Google Authenticator. High friction, not great for users. So imagine you tab out, go get 6 digits, tab back in, race against the clock, enter it in, and hope it's secure. The second is a FIDO passkey. So this could be something like a YubiKey or other vendors. But I'm a big fan of cooking. So if anybody in the audience knows Alton Brown, he says you should never have something in your kitchen that does one thing. I'm also a believer you shouldn't have something in your pocket that only does one thing. You know, consumers won't buy these, they won't carry them, and they'll lose them. So what's an alternative? A hardware passkey that consumers will actually use and a hardware passkey that users actually carry. In fact, there's billions of them on the planet already. So we can take a hardware passkey and we can include it in the payment cards that are already in consumers' pockets. So you may not realize it, but you all have cryptographic engines in your pockets and wallets that can be a full zero trust signer and hardware key for all these transactions. So one question I often get is, why don't we just use the one on the phone? So the phone's pretty good. You can use that for biometric for relatively low risk. We often cite this as an and solution. So for logging in, seeing your account balances, seeing those basic things, we agree the key can be on the phone. For that step-up authentication, the keys really should be offline in your pocket. Because if it's a synced passkey and synced in the cloud, it can be ripped out of the cloud. I was in defense for years prior to this. I've seen phones hacked to root. I've seen clouds hacked to root, and I don't trust any key that's synced to the cloud. So this is really kind of the ecosystem of what it looks like. It's many of what our partners do. So whether they be large banks, centralized exchanges and decentralized platforms, fintechs and other FIs, we really built this cryptographic engine to sign any transaction, anything they need. From whether it be blockchain to a FIDO transaction and do login, the platform can service that in a means that everyone has and everyone understands. So that's a really important tenet in security. If people don't understand it, they won't use it. So this really is a key slide I often get asked, but like, how do I use it? What problem does it solve? One is simply high transaction validation. I'm going to move dollars off platform. I'm going to move it from X to Y. How do I do that? Tap my card to my phone, enter my PIN, prove I'm me, and sign that transaction. Transaction approved. Reduction in false decline. If you work in a banking platform, you probably declined a significant portion of those transactions. Anything that was going to be declined, you should pass to this auth method. Anything you're able to call back and eliminate that false decline is all revenue and all earnings falling to the bottom line. Prevention of account takeover is clear. If the criminal doesn't have this digital key, they're not going to be able to log into the platform. New device authentication. You get a new iPhone, you get a new Pixel. How do you prove you're you the first time to the bank? Tap your card. And finally, it again sounds a little boring, but reduction in call center time. That alone can more than pay for these programs and can be huge, especially for platforms that offer premium service where you're paying for premium call centers and premium time with humans. So for all of us, at the end of the day, it's a business. How do we drive top-line value? How do we drive bottom-line value? So if you're looking at driving revenue, really growing that top line, that passwordless experience, again, means more completed user journeys. More completed carts means more revenue. Second is a higher percentage of wallet share. This is the bank that keeps me safe. This is my favorite fintech that keeps me safe. It's top of mind, best experience. That will allow you to grow your mind share and continue to grow the business. Third is brand exposure. So we actually have a number of fintechs that use this for brand association, meaning they get a push to the phone, tap to win tickets. They get a push to the phone, enter this contest. Really is an interesting experience that was sort of organically developed by them. We didn't envision that, but it's been very successful for this fintech in the United States. Second, for those of you that are charged in driving bottom line value, how do we accomplish that? So first is standard IAM, identity and access management. Right? If criminals aren't getting in accounts, you're not paying out fraud, you're not paying for due diligence on those auditors to figure out what went wrong. Second is account takeover. You're preventing brand reputational risk, you're preventing churn, you're preventing losing customers. And at the end of the day, you're also preventing eating those actual fraud costs. So with a single program, you can significantly enhance top-line revenue, and you can significantly drive savings to the bottom line as well. So if you have any questions about the product, you want to see a demo, just see how easy it is, please swing by the Arculus booth. It's kind of directly back from the stage. Be happy to talk to you about how it can help your program. And if you're technical, I'll be happy to talk to you about elliptic curve signatures and how the magic actually works in the card. Thank you. I hope you have a great show.
So thank